Okay, hi everyone, I'm Phillippa from Semperfli and I'm going to be tying you a really simple deadly beetle pattern to use on your local still waters or rivers. Later in the video we're going to be speaking to Andy Kitchener, who is the developer of all the fantastic range of Semperfli materials. But before we do that, let's get a new hook in the vise and get a beetle tied up. So we're just going to tie on a size 10 kind of standard traditional hook. The thread I've got is some of the Semperfli Classic Waxed in 12/0, and I'll just start just at the eye, take my thread all the way down towards the bend of the hook. That just creates a nice bed of thread for the material to have a base. And I'll take the thread all the way back up to the eye, and then we'll tie in some of our new foam beetle bodies. So these come in all sorts of different colours and sizes. We've got them in pinks, yellows, tans, black, in all different sizes, so you can use them as an indicator or just fish them on their own as a standard beetle. So you'll see the detail of them, it has it etched on top of the body, so we tie that in face down, catching the tying tag. The beauty of having the tying tag so long is when you're tying it in, you can create just little patches of air bubbles to help this fly float a little bit longer. So we'll tie in just towards the bend of the hook, and then we'll take some of this is the 2mm synthetic peacock herl in green peacock. Take a length of this, so we take a length, and as you can see this is the 2mm. And what I tend to do is I just strip off the first few millimetres of material from the core. This just helps keep the bulk down and the fly nice and consistent. And then I'll just keep coming up back towards the eye. Trying not to crush all the foam here, because like I say, this does give the fly a little bit more floatability. And then just start winding it up like so, just to behind the eye where we'll catch off. Trim that waste away, and then all we do is bring the foam body forward so it's sitting directly on top of the hook. Bring your thread around, making sure it's all in place, and then pull down to tighten and tie in securely. And we're going to add some legs. So as I said, we're going to be using the grizzle flutter legs. These are the clear and blue flake. So we want 2 legs either side. So simply hold it in place and then just take a loop turn just to get it in where you want it adjusting, and then a turn just to tighten it all up, and then repeat on the other side. So I just hold it in place, take a loop, adjust it as you need, and then just take a couple of turns. And then once they're secure, lift the front of the beetle body up, take a few turns underneath. At this point you can add a little bit of a different colour foam or some poly yarn just on the top of the beetle here, just gives you a little bit of an indicator to see the fly. And then pop a whip finish on, I always like to add 2 whip finishers. And then trim your thread off. And then there's a couple of ways you can do your legs. You can lift them all up and cut them all as one. Or do them both either side. And there we have it. It's the Semperfli Beetle foam bodies. Hi everyone, it's Andy and Phillippa from Semperfli. We're going to talk a little bit about some synthetics and the reasoning behind them. So Andy, kicking it off, you're known as the Nutty Professor. Why synthetics?
If you look at the environment we're in today, fly tying has changed over the last decade.
Yeah.
You look at the availability of raw materials, it has changed. We used to be able to get materials very easily, but you look now for even marabou, it's coming from China.
Yeah.
The quality has deteriorated, and what a lot of suppliers will not admit is, these materials are being imported. I looked at materials, natural materials, and I'd see birds' heads smashed, and it's not good. Whereas a fly tyer wants to take a fly and reproduce it time after time after time. And with synthetics, I can guarantee both the quality and availability. If I produce, as we have done, the synthetic curl, this can be produced for as many flies as are required. And it's also about versatility. I can take an incredible product like a peacock curl, which is very, very narrow. You look at a regular peacock curl, we're talking something 1 millimetre. Yeah. But you look at salmon flies, that same attractive material is deadly and attractive for salmon flies. So why not just expand it and make it larger? And, you look at the versatility. I've got a bit of peacock curl. This is synthetic. I can do things that, you can't do with a natural material. So I've got a material that is as good as the raw material. And indeed, you look at Hans van Klinken's book, which, we'll talk about Hans later. He said this is the best of the best synthetic curl. So for a new tyre, it's very easy. It is very robust, and it still has that incredible look of the natural peacock curl. As a grandfather, I'm concerned about the environment, and I want him to see jungle cock in the wild. I don't want him, finding in books this animal was about, and they just can't see it.
No. So why peacock? I've gone out for days out with the family and gone to, days out and to stately homes and stuff, and you see them roaming about. Why is there such a big problem?
It's really simple. It's a thing called the Reg Book and CITES. And what most fly tyers don't realise is there's certain materials that are banned. Everyone's aware of jungle cock, and we still go to shows and see jungle cock that has been illegally imported and sold. And the problem is, as soon as you start travelling, and I'm lucky through my life, I've done a lot of travelling, and if you travel with an illegal material, then, you can get put on the CITES register. Now, CITES, people will think of an elephant tusk. Yeah. And they won't think of a peacock that's in their stately home. But the raw bird is endangered in Pakistan and India. Yeah. And you may be able to go to your local stately home and pick up some feathers. You fly to Iceland to go fishing in a wonderful bit of river. You go to Slovenia. You travel some beautiful places. If you get that feather and you go through customs, how do you prove to that customs officer that that feather has come from that bird on that stately home? You can't. The only way of actually proving it would be to get a veterinary certificate, have DNA of the bird, before it's died, a veterinary certificate saying that this is the bird, and then when they go through customs, you've got to get a DNA. And I know fly tyers that have been caught and have customs markers.
Yeah.
So
what are the risks then? If you get caught, what?
It could be anything from a fine to imprisonment.
Wow.
If you're lucky, you get a CITES marker, and I know people that travel and have CITES markers, so they get delayed whenever they go to a show abroad. So, it is a problem, and, you may only be going fishing, on a trip of a lifetime, but you go on that trip of a lifetime and find all your flies are taken because you've got some peacock curl. That's not really pleasant.
It's not worth the risk, is it? So, with obviously the vast array of synthetics that are now available on the market, do you think it's more accepted that synthetics are more widely used?
It's huge. I'll recount a little story. When we got Semperfli going, we were very friendly with Hans van Klinken. We saw him at a lot of shows. Absolutely lovely guy, and I'll be honest, in awe. Every time I saw him, the guy is astounding tyer, and I looked at his flies and amazed me. And Anne and myself were lucky enough to go over and meet him at his house and spend a couple of days with him. And there's me, the Nutty Professor, and we're sat down with Hans, and we have an incredible day, and he agrees to help us, and we start working together. And we're due to meet the following day, and I decided I'd just say it, and we were talking about the clink hammer, and I said, you realise that peacock curl is CITES registered? No. There's Kitchener thinking I'm knackered it. 10 years, lovely guy. I've ruined the relationship. Well, we went to our B&B, and 7:00 in the morning, the phone goes.
What did he say, Andy?
And it's Hans, and I'm thinking, okay, there's an early flight home. And he says, I've done it. I've invented Klinkhammer version 2. Back then, we hadn't got the synthetic peacock, but we'd got straggle string.
Yeah. And
the straggle string black was really close to peacock. I've reinvented it. I've got version 2. And you actually look in his book, he talks about Klinkhammer version 2 and the problems of people travelling, etc. So Hans's version 2 of Klinkhammer was using straggle string.
So we know Hans is now on version 3 of his world famous Klinkhammer. I've just looking at his book here because it's obviously last year was the 40th year of the Klink, and he's changed it a little bit, hasn't he?
Yeah, basically when we developed the peacock curl, Hans looked at this and decided it was the perfect replacement. In fact, I can't thank Hans enough. He said it's the best of the best synthetic peacock curl ever developed, and now this is the default in his peacock in the default peacock curl in Klinkhammer version 3. And the great thing, Hans does some wonderful job with children. He's out in Finland this year. And so we've given him a bulk supply of this to be able to teach children because it doesn't snap.
It's so strong,
They're going to be able to tie and learn and be able to use this and really, develop their skills. Yeah. And it's up to us as tyers to get the youngsters in. So,
and of course, the other thing is if you compare it to the natural, the version 1, this version 3 is going to last a whole lot longer.
It's so robust. Yeah. It is really improving both, the ability of people to tie the fly because it's not snapping, and it's still an absolutely deadly fish catcher. So, it really is the way forward.
Yeah, definitely. So let's have a look at what the different sizes are, because we've got 3 different sizes now, haven't we?
Yeah.
We started off with just the 2, and then we got asked to do a smaller one, of course. So what sizes are available, Andy?
Basically, we started off with 4 and 2 millimeter, and I just had some machine setups to get down to 1 millimeter. So we have 1 millimeter peacock herl, which is as close as you can get to the natural peacock. Yeah, you've got some incredible colours. So you've got that in bronze, in red. So we've got the wonderful red as well here. And you look at the colours, the reason for the different colours is certainly in the UK we have the Dorlback, the Welsh dragon. Dorlback is a very popular fly on both still waters and rivers, incredible fish catcher. So what we've done is use basically a variety of different tinsels to create a chenille that is both looking like a dyed peacock herl and catching us as well. The 2 millimeter I created because we're working on, for example, I know you're playing with our foam beetles. And if you look at some of the insects, you know, you look at beetles, for example, you know, we were fishing the other weekend and we were using beetle patterns. I know it was in February and I know they don't come up for beetles, apart from when we were using beetles with this underneath. And it was a deadly fly on still waters. So you've got that vibrancy of peacock underneath, you know, a stunning beetle. And it can be used as body material. It can be used in a thorax. It can be used in so many places.
We've actually seen it being used as a detached body. People twisting it and using it as a detached body.
Yeah, and then people looked at me, gone out, why have I done a peacock herl in 4 millimeters? And it's really simple. You know, I don't look at a material just as replicating peacock herl in the 1 millimeter. I'm looking at how that material can be used to catch fish. So if you look at peacock, that iridescence, the different flash of the different colours as the light hits it, is astounding. So I created the 4 mil for much larger flies. So, you know, it may be something as simple as humongous in British still water.
Yeah, you know, the 4 mil is actually quite perfect for just little trout streamers, like mini trout streamers for the river. Tied as like a mini humongous.
But
works deadly.
You're going for big salmon. You know, you can actually create some stunning patterns. And that's the versatility that synthetics allow us. You know, we've got that robust material. We've got that material that just won't snap. It is able to be extruded to different diameters. You know, I've done 1, 2, 4. Guarantee that we can have people on the pro team and tyres saying, can we have 6? Can we have 8? And the point is, with synthetics, we can do that. We can actually make it into any size, any colour. As we've shown here, you know, we've managed to do the whole mix of colours to match the dyed material, but give the fly tyre a better quality product.
It comes full circle, doesn't it? It's all about the quality, the consistency. It's going to be the same every time you buy it, isn't it? It
doesn't matter whether you're on tying fly number 1 or tying, 5 years later that same fly. Your material is identical. And, as a fly tyer, there's nothing worse than you get different batches of natural materials and you sit there and think, this is nothing like what I had before, and it ends up just going in the bin. I know that every time I can run this off, it's going to be identical each time.
Great. Well, thank you, Andy.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you, guys. Look forward to seeing you.